Hey guys, I'm Brittany from Quarter Acre Roots, where we talk about growing a lot on a little bit of space, and today we are talking about how to cold stratify seeds in the refrigerator. For things that require cold stratification in my garden, I usually try to winter sow those outside in jugs in like January, so they have plenty of time for nature to just naturally cold stratify them. But every year I get into early March and realize that I have forgotten to winter sow something that I definitely want to grow this spring. So that's where cold stratifying in the fridge comes in handy. You may also choose to cold stratify in the fridge too, because it's a little bit more of a controlled environment than winter sowing outdoors. So for example, I harvested some pawpaw seeds last year, and those do require cold stratification. So I've had those in the fridge all winter just so I can monitor them and not just like completely throw them outside and let the elements take their course. All you're gonna need to cold stratify in the fridge is a plastic bag that I already have labeled here. You can just write on them with a permanent marker. So this is gonna be swamp milkweed, and this is gonna be butterfly weed, the kind with the orange flowers that stays a little bit smaller. You obviously need your seeds that you're going to cold stratify, and then you need some paper towels. So I just took one and cut it in half because these are pretty small bags. The first thing we're gonna do is moisten these paper towels. And while I moisten these paper towels, I'm gonna talk a little bit about why we cold stratify to begin with. So I generally will just like completely soak them in the sink. I'm standing in front of a sink right now, and then squeeze out all of the excess moisture. The reason why some seeds need cold stratification is essentially a survival mechanism. So if seeds were to spread and drop in the fall and then immediately germinate, they would die in areas like where I live, where we have all 4 seasons and it can get very cold and snowy in the winter. So here in Maryland Zone 7A, we're talking about milkweeds today. They're spread by the wind in the fall, and then they sit all winter. They experience that period of cold stratification, and once they are cold stratified for long enough, that is their signal to break dormancy and sprout in the spring. All I'm going to do here is take this moistened paper towel, fold it in half, and then I'm going to dump a couple of these milkweed seeds into the paper towel and fold it in half again. So they are just like kind of enclosed in this moist paper towel. Here we go. You can kind of look through to see there inside of the paper towel, we have our seeds. Now I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna put them into the baggie and seal the baggie and put them in the fridge. It's that easy. And what I will generally do is check them roughly like maybe every 2 weeks or so to make sure that the paper towel has not dried out completely. You want it to stay like a little bit moist in there to mimic those natural conditions outdoors over the winter, but not so wet that it will like rot the seeds out. If you start to see like a little bit of mold growth on the paper towel, especially around the seeds, that's not a huge deal. If it bothers you, you can just ditch that paper towel and replace it with another one. But overall, I've noticed that every year I've done cold stratification in the fridge and it has not really made a huge difference. I'm gonna take these over and pop them into my little like cheese produce drawer in the fridge, and I'm gonna grab my pawpaw seedlings to show you guys what they look like now, because I'm about to take those out of the fridge and plant them. So I've had these in here since last fall. Pawpaw seedlings are kind of finicky, like the seeds do not want to dry out completely, so that definitely means that when you have them in a moist medium over the winter, you can have some issues like this where you might have like a little bit of mold growth on them. But I saved so many seeds that I obviously am not gonna start like all of these pawpaw trees because I don't have room for that many pawpaw plants, unfortunately. So any that look like kind of questionable and a little bit moldy, I'm just gonna chuck and move forward with the rest. Here's an example of what I mean by the paper towel getting like a little bit moldy, especially up here. This is the kind of discoloration I'll usually see on like some of my milkweed seeds, but this is all winter. I did not replace this at all. I did add a little bit of moisture at times, but I didn't change out the paper towel for these pawpaw seedlings, because quite frankly, I put them in the fridge and then I forgot about them for like an entire month over the winter. In terms of how long you need to cold stratify your seeds for, that kind of depends on the seed. So I would encourage you to look up how long of a period of dormancy they require in that cold environment to successfully sprout. If you're really on a time crunch though, just put them in the fridge for as long as you possibly can keep them in there and then take them out and see if they germinate. I think last year with my milkweed seeds, I put them in there for maybe probably 6 weeks, and they all germinated when I took them out and potted them up in soil. But cold stratification was hopefully a success in the fridge for these. I know it has been a success for many other native plants that I've tried it with in the past. So I hope you guys found this helpful if you are interested in trying to cold stratify your seeds in the fridge. Until my next video, happy planting.